how are you making sense of this election this election season at this time?
It's deeply depressing and demoralizing and frustrating. I am walking this weird tightrope. Some others are. A lot of people have chosen not to, but I've stayed on a tightrope where I am basically saying that Trump is an existential threat to American democracy, to our climate, to our planet, and to Muslims and Palestinians and Arabs in the Middle East and at home. But that the Democrats have failed miserably on this issue. They are complicit in genocide. Kamala Harris had a chance to break with Joe Biden. She had a chance in July. She had a chance in August. She had a chance in September. She's had a chance in October, and she's failed to break with Joe Biden. Not only has she failed to break with Joe Biden, she's doubled down in support for Israel. Her team have gone out of their way to say she's not breaking with U.S. policy. There is no change. And that is insane when, for example, you have a state like Michigan where a bunch of people who were Democrats who voted overwhelmingly for Biden in 2020 have made it very clear that they cannot vote for Democrats complicit in genocide. They cannot vote for people who have helped kill their cousins and uncles and aunts and siblings and family back home in Gaza, in Lebanon, maybe in the coming days and weeks, Iran. So it is a really frustrating situation where both sides are basically pushing genocide. One side is the incumbent and taking most of the flack, understandably so. The other side isn't getting the attention it should. We've kind of given Trump and the Republican Party a pass.
For sure.
I see a lot of activists who will only talk about Harris Biden. And if you say, what about Trump? Well, that's all hypothetical. It's not hypothetical, actually. The weapons that go to Israel go with congressional votes, all of them Republican. The only people who are voting for conditions on aid to Israel are Democrats, right? 45 to 55 Democrats in the House. A far too small a number in my view, but they're all Democrats. And whenever I talk to Muslim or Arab crowds, and I've been speaking to Muslim crowds, Mark, in Philly, in Georgia, in swing states and in non-swing states. I've been all over the country: California, Illinois, New York, here in the DC metro area. The one thing I always ask the crowd is, there are 75 to 85, I can't remember last time I checked the number, somewhere close to 100 members of Congress who support a ceasefire. Around 40 to 50 who support conditioning aid to Israel. How many of them are Republicans? The answer is zero. I think that's an important fact to keep in mind when we're trying to work out the best way forward and who we're voting for. But look, I get people who say plague on both your houses. I'm voting Jill Stein. I'm staying at home. This two-party system is corrupt and complicit in genocide. Totally get that. It's undeniable. My slight difference, where I differ from some of my critics online, is that I've always believed that I want to change the world for the better. But in the meantime, I have to live in the world as it is. I cannot pretend. I cannot pretend that we don't have a two-party system. I cannot pretend that on January 20th, 2025, the president won't be either Kamala Harris or Donald J. Trump. I have to live in that world.
I think the third party argument's more complicated. Now, I want to get to third party because I want to talk about, and I especially want to talk about the interview you did with Jill Stein and Butch Ware, which I watched twice, which probably says more about me being a nerd than anything else. But as of now, when you look at the way that Kamala Harris has moved through this election season, and Donald Trump, to be sure, what do you think the outcome is as of now? Who do you think wins?
I stopped doing predictions in 2016, Mark, when I got Brexit wrong and I got Trump wrong, and I was like, let's not do predictions anymore. It's insane. There's no value in it. What I would say is, am I feeling good about the prospects of the Democratic win right now? No, the momentum's gone. I went to the DNC in August. There was a lot of energy. It looked like a victory party. In fact, one congressman said to me, like, we haven't won yet. Why are people so over the top? Joy. Remember joy? This is the campaign of joy, we were told. That energy, a lot of that energy has gone in some swing states. Not totally. There's still a lot of Democrats on the ground doing hard organizing and door knocking. The early voting is favoring the Democrats, as it always does.
Yeah.
But look at the polling. We're speaking on Friday. The New York Times just put out its final Siena College pre-election poll. It's a dead heat. Not only is that insane, that everyone in the world thinks America is insane, that Donald Trump is in a dead heat. Donald Trump should be 20, 30 points behind in any objective, normal universe. The fact that he's dead heat is in itself an indictment of the American political and media systems being broken and the inability of Democrats to get their message across. But separate to the dead heat, the trend is bad, Mark, right? Because she had a lead in that poll a month ago, and it's gone. So a lot of her leads have gone. Trump seems to have...
Why, though? Why? I mean...
Great question. I think there's a multiplicity of factors. I think you've got the Gaza issue as an issue as much as establishment media and the Democrats want to pretend it's a fringe left Muslim issue. It's actually much broader than just Muslims or progressives. A lot of people are upset about what's going on. But it's not the only issue. I think the inability of Harris in multiple interviews to say how she'll be different to Joe Biden. I had Congressman Ro Khanna on my show on Zateo, and he said it's not just about Gaza. She needs to go on air and say three things that she's different to Biden on. Three major substantive issues. She hasn't done that.
But Biden beat Trump. if Biden could beat Trump, right? Take Gaza off the table for a minute. If America said, look, we'd rather have Trump than Hillary, then they watched the Trump presidency and said, hey, this isn't for us. We want Biden. And then she walks out and looks just like Biden. That's, to me, that should make us more competitive, because the argument
because you're forgetting the main part, which affects everything about American politics, which is Americans are amnesiacs. Americans are goldfish. They cannot remember anything that happened yesterday, let alone last week, let alone last year, let alone 4 years ago. So yes, in 2020, we were in the middle of a COVID pandemic. We had tens of millions of people unemployed. The economy was in the ditch. Donald Trump was telling people to put disinfectant in their arms. And people said, we're done with this. This has been 4 years of trauma. Right, and Biden beat him by 7 million votes. It shouldn't have been close, but it was, because we have a dumb electoral college. But it was a resounding landslide defeat for Trump in the popular vote. The problem is, he then does an insurrection. He then gets impeached. Everyone is anti-Trump in January, February 2021. Kevin McCarthy is anti-Trump in January 2021. And then the Republicans begin to rewrite history. The liberal media goes AWOL. The Democrats, as usual, go into a defensive posture, not aggressive. Exactly what Obama did in 2008-9. He comes in and he says, forget about Guantanamo and Bagram and CIA torture. We're not looking back. We're looking forward. Biden does the same ridiculous thing. He puts Merrick Garland, the worst attorney general, into the place. Merrick Garland, we're not sure if he's alive or dead, doesn't prosecute Trump. The great irony is Republicans, Mark, keep saying they prosecuted Trump. It was weaponized justice. I'm like, I wish it was weaponized justice. It was the exact opposite. The Democratic base had to drag Garland kicking and screaming to even get a special counsel. Donald Trump is going into an election in 11 days, having not seen the inside of a single courtroom in relation to January 6th. That is one of the greatest indictments of our broken judiciary and a ridiculously weak Democratic Party that I've ever seen. No one would have believed me in 2021 if I said, come 2024, Trump will be the candidate and he'll not face trial for a single thing. That's insane, right? So that is where we are right now. People have forgotten how bad Trump was. He's gotten away with his crimes. Harris will not break with Biden, not just on Gaza, but other issues, right? Tim Walz goes out and says, let's get rid of the Electoral College. Tim Walz is a great candidate. I pushed for him to be the VP candidate.
Me too.
He's the kind of energy they need. They subdued Walz. They picked him, and then they pulled the life out of him. And this week he came back and said Elon Musk's a dipshit. I'm like, yes, that's the Walz we're missing.
Yeah, you know, right?
But when Tim Walz goes, let's get rid of the Electoral College, which all Americans support, majority of Americans support doing that, the Harris campaign slaps him down. I mean, this is the kind of insanity that we're seeing. You know, Mark, you know this. You've covered American politics much longer than I have. Never underestimate the Democratic Party's consultant class's ability to shoot themselves in the foot, right? She is getting bad advice. There's no debate about that. And look, their view is we will get through thanks to white suburban women, college-educated white women in Michigan suburbs. We will have Liz Cheney give us the Nikki Haley voters. Abortion will get us across the line. And I'm not saying they're wrong. They may pull it off. Abortion may save the U.S. constitutional system, but it shouldn't be this close. And as Michael Moore, another guest on my show recently said, you can win without Michigan, but why take that risk?